Hello everyone. Today we're looking into 3 cases of missing young women in Canada that were all requested by you. 27-year-old Tara Moran was born to her father Patrick and her mother Deb. Growing up in White Rock, a city south of Vancouver in British Columbia near the Washington border, Tara was described as a normal kid. She was a nice, funny, chatty, and bright, free spirit. She even competed in competitive dance and did well in school. However, in her early adulthood, Tara decided to move to Vancouver to attend a makeup school, and this is where things would take a turn in her life. As many of the cases go that we cover on this channel, Tara ended up being introduced to a high-risk lifestyle after meeting an unnamed man in Vancouver. She began hanging out with this individual, and he would eventually introduce her to meth, and she began heavily drinking, and at this point her life became unstable and rocky. Now, although she was addicted to methamphetamine and alcohol, her family convinced her to move back into their residence where they were living in the city of Merritt. And this was around 2 years prior to her disappearance. Her father saying, and I quote, "That was volatile because of her drug use and mood swings. It was tough, and at certain points we couldn't have anymore. It was toxic, and it wasn't working. We wanted to help her. We offered help, but she wasn't interested." End quote. This is when Tara began living at a local shelter in Merritt for around a year and a half. But her family was always in constant contact with her. They were also still actively trying to get her help. They were trying to get her into treatment facilities. They even went as far as hiring an interventionist to try to persuade her to go. However, she still ended up declining. Tara would last be seen on January 31st of 2024. So just at the beginning of this year as I'm recording this video. And she would also last be seen in the town of Merritt, British Columbia. Now, this is a city with a population of around 7,000 people, 95 kilometers south of Kamloops and 145 kilometers west of Kelowna. But sadly, Tara wouldn't be reported missing till nearly a month later to the Merritt RCMP around February 21st. And this is because she was living, more of a transient lifestyle. Tara was specifically last seen at that Merritt shelter that she was living at, as well as outside of a Save-On Foods grocery store, with who is described as a shady-looking character. But her disappearance just wasn't making sense to her family. Yes, she had strayed from the shelter before, but she always still stayed in town when she did that. Her father saying, and I quote, "The shelter is a rough, scary spot, but there is good stuff and people trying to help there, and we knew where she was." End quote. In wake of Tara's disappearance, the family began putting posters up in areas like Merritt, Kamloops, and the Okanagan. Patrick also ended up taking his older daughter, Caitlin, who was around 29 years old, to Vancouver's dangerous downtown east side to look for Tara. They searched the shelters, safe injection sites, and talked to street people. Anything they could think of. If Tara was to go anywhere, they truly thought Vancouver would be the place because she had spent time there. However, since Tara's disappearance, her bank account hasn't been used. All of her belongings were left at the shelter, and she also didn't pick up a monthly check, which was something she wouldn't have done. Again, all red flags. Her sister Caitlin saying, and I quote, "We really want her to come back home and accept help. Give her the life she deserves. We grew apart. It's been a struggle." End quote.
Good evening. A family in Merritt is trying to keep their daughter's name in the public view as she's now been missing for 5 months. 27-year-old Tara Moran was last seen on January 31st in Merritt. Her parents say it has been a very painful situation, and they're hoping that someone who knows something about where she could be will come forward. Danita Bigeagle reports.
Yeah, tough love. I don't know. I'm not sure that I buy into it anymore.
It's been more than 5 months since Deb and Patrick Moran have seen their daughter Tara.
There has been no activity from her, like as far as any sort of banking or with the police or in the medical system. She's basically vanished.
The 27-year-old was last seen in Merritt in late January and reported missing in February this year.
We've given posters out, Kelowna. My husband has been down at the coast, downtown east side, posters, talking to people there.
Tara's parents described their daughter as chatty, a free spirit with an interest in makeup artistry and dance. But recently, her family says mental health and substance use issues became more prevalent.
She was not that same young girl anymore. It's just...
Different, completely different person.
And over the past year, she had been living in and out of the shelter in Merritt with sporadic contact with her parents.
I think that last time I spoke with her, we were to meet and she didn't show up. So I left the cards at Ask Wellness. I knew she had moved out. And then the RCMP contacted us soon after that.
If Tara Moran did in fact leave the Merritt area, her family is confident she left with someone, as Tara doesn't own a vehicle.
At the end of the day, there's always those times where you're you got to think to yourself, what happened?
It's like a deep...
Obviously, where is she? Is she still alive?
Yeah.
If she isn't, what happened to her?
Months with no answers has dealt plenty of frustration and anxiety for the Moran family, who is urging anyone who knows something to do the right thing and speak up.
We just want to know if she's alive and safe. That's all we want to know.
And let her know we love her.
Tara's disappearance has caused the family a lot of stress and sleepless nights. The family saying that it's taken a huge toll on them and the community, and they're just trying to cope at this point. They are desperate for her to come home. When it comes to Tara's disappearance, there isn't really many theories. She simply vanished. Since drugs are involved, it always makes me kind of sway towards possibly an overdose that was covered up. But then again, when you're living a high-risk lifestyle like this, we don't know all of these shady individuals that she may have been hanging out with. She could have seen something she wasn't supposed to. She could have went somewhere and someone did something to her and got rid of her. She could have been trafficked. Unfortunately, there are so many possibilities. Let's take one bigger look at Tara. She's described as 5'11", 140 pounds, with black hair and hazel eyes. She also has a small black heart outline tattoo behind one ear. Ashley Morin was born March 24th of 1987 and was said to have a contagious laugh. Ashley grew up as an Indigenous woman in Saskatchewan, part of the Atakakuk Cree Nation. To her mother Diane and a father that was not named, she also had a sister named Janine and a brother whose name I also couldn't find. She was said to be the type of person that regardless if you knew her or not, she would give you the shirt off her back. If you needed something, she was there for you. She was a very sweet and caring person who loved her family. Growing up, Ashley was also very athletic, playing both soccer and hockey. As an adult, she also worked full-time at the local casino and helped raise her friend's daughter. Overall, Ashley seemed like a very beautiful soul. 31-year-old Ashley would last be seen leaving a house on foot around 9:30 p.m. on July 10th of 2018 in North Battleford, a city 134 kilometers northwest of Saskatoon. She was also possibly last seen near the Beaver Motor Hotel. Her disappearance has all of the red flags that we always talk about. Her bank accounts have not been active, her social medias have not been active, and she has not used her phone since she was last seen. In 2019, the RCMP would end up releasing a photo of a two-toned van with a lighter color on top and a darker color on the bottom, with no apparent windows on the back or sides. The surveillance photo was actually taken at the corner of 96th Street and 16th Avenue in North Battleford, near a French language school and field. This would also turn out to be near where the home was that Ashley was last seen. Police have said that they are still interested in locating that van as well as the driver of that van because they want to speak to them because that person may have information. The fact that that person has never come forward and never been identified definitely gives me a bad feeling. On the 1-year anniversary of Ashley's disappearance, authorities would announce that they believed she was a victim of homicide. And every year since Ashley has disappeared, her family has held an awareness walk from Saskatoon to North Battleford and even issued a $25,000 award.
My name is Krista Fox, and I'm a close family friend of Ashley Morin. The reason we come forth today is to bring awareness because our Ash is still missing. So for those of you that are out and about, if you live in the rural communities especially, please just start looking around. Anything that doesn't look familiar, please get in touch with the RCMP. For those of you that live in the city, the same thing. Please check your backyards, your garbage bins, whatever the case may be. Again, if you find anything that seems suspicious, don't touch it, and just please call the RCMP. A lot of Ash's family is here today. Her mom, her sister, her grandma, aunts, cousins, and we all miss her very, very much. So please, if you can help in any way, just reach out, please. Thank you.
Her sister Janine saying, and I quote, "I'm hoping that someone will see the signs, see the posters, and actually be willing to speak up. The silence is killing us. We need to bring her home. That frustrates me, that breaks me down, because we've gotten no further since day one. We still continue to search. We get a tip, we're right there. I'm still looking in the ditches. I'm still hoping that we're going to find something, anything, just to give us a line. Everywhere I go, I look. Your whole life is now looking." End quote. Which I think is a very powerful statement to make. People don't really realize when someone goes missing, the family is still actively searching for this person, for their loved one. Every single day they wake up wondering where that person is. They're out there driving the streets, always looking over their shoulder, hoping that they're going to notice something, see something, maybe see that person even. And I think that's why when we see families that don't go search, that kind of raises a lot of red flags with individuals, because you see cases like this where the family is out there every day. They're spending every waking moment trying to find their loved one. And then there's other cases where we see family members, especially parents of young children, who don't go search at all and just kind of sit at home and, do the bare minimum and then just carry on with their lives as if that person never existed. And it's very sad, but it's also very telling, it seems. Now, the biggest thing that stuck out to me in this case is that white van, because it makes me wonder, did someone kidnap Ashley using that van, or could she possibly have been murdered and then that van was used to take her body somewhere? And I think finding that van and that driver could lead police to getting some answers. So if you have any information on that van or that individual, please speak up. The family needs answers. Let's take one more look at Ashley. Ashley's described as being an Indigenous woman standing 5'2" tall and around 100 pounds with long black hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing gray sweatpants, a black shirt with white writing on it, a black hat, and sunglasses. She also normally wears glasses and has a birthmark behind her right ear. Danita Faith Bigeagle was born March 6th of 1984 in Arcola, Saskatchewan, being the youngest of 6 children to her mother Diane and father Doug. Danita was a quiet and happy child from Ocean Man First Nation. She loved movies and music and enjoyed watching her sisters dance. She would also go on to have 2 children of her own. As an adult, Danita was known to frequent the downtown area of Regina, Saskatchewan, the province's capital city. But Danita didn't have a picture-perfect upbringing, which her family has been very outspoken about. According to family, Danita was put on Ritalin at a very young age for her hyperactivity. She would also often pull away from others, and she got worse after her parents' divorce. After this, Danita was often found drinking as a teen, skipping school. She would also always like to go out and have fun with friends, but she would always come home. Diane saying, and I quote, "Like I would tell her, 'Why do you want to ruin your life by drinking? Why don't you want to go to school?' And she would say, 'Well, you used to do it, and I used to wonder why you did it. Now it's my turn.' And I told her, 'Don't take too long because you can turn into an alcoholic and turn into an addict.' I said, 'I know from experience, you're missing out on your kids' lives.' And she said, 'Mom, I won't always be like this.'" End quote. Danita was now 22 years old, and it is noted that she was reaching out for help before she vanished. Danita was last seen on the 800 block of Victoria Avenue in Regina on February 11th of 2007. Her son Talon was only 9 months old when she disappeared, and her daughter was only a couple years old. She was so young, and her children were still basically babies. But I think the scariest part about this case is that despite police saying that Danita was last seen downtown, a neighbor would end up allegedly telling her mother that they witnessed Danita being grabbed in front of her mother's home and put into a black SUV. And at that time, she was living at 1555 Garnet Street, as you can see here on the map. Diane ended up going to the police with this information. However, I don't know how seriously they took that because I've never seen it mentioned on any of the police websites. And it seems like Diane and the police have had a very tumultuous relationship regarding Danita's investigation for her disappearance. Diane saying, and I quote, "I won't even talk to them because they are not sincere. I couldn't live there anymore. Like when she first went missing, I stayed by the phone and waited for her over 3 months. I was being sent on wild goose chases. Like, why was I doing their job?" End quote. As far as I've seen, Danita's case is sadly on standstill and there have been no new leads, so it now sits with Regina's cold case unit. It's been 17 years since Danita went missing, and Diane has sadly seemed to come to grasp with the fact that her daughter is most likely dead. There also seems to be very little communication between Diane and the police. And the fact that Danita disappeared and has never come home even to see her children ever again is such a big red flag in my opinion. She would not have left her children, especially since they were babies. Now, Diane was so upset over how the police handled her daughter's disappearance that she actually was part of a class action lawsuit against the federal government and the RCMP, claiming negligence and a lackadaisical approach to investigating missing and murdered Indigenous women cases. And she has been a huge advocate for her daughter and mmiw cases.
This is Diane Bigeagle, and it's been 10 years since her daughter, Danita Faith Bigeagle, went missing. 10 years without knowing what happened. We just passed the anniversary of her disappearance in February. What was that like for you?
Well, it was hard. Her kids want to know why I celebrate that date, and I told them, well, that's when Mommy left us. Kind of an important day for me. And other women that went missing. When I remember my daughter, I remember them.
What are your concerns about how the inquiry is being handled at this point?
Really, I don't know. just like nothing's being done. We were so like happy that all of a sudden, yeah, they're taking a look at this, and then all of a sudden they're like stalling. And I said, what the heck? Then when I heard it was trapping and hunting for the summer, I said, who, me? No, not me. And it bewildered us, frustrated us. I didn't know what to make of it.
What do you want to have changed as we go forward, as you see how this is unfolding?
Well, I want them to get on with it. You know, we put our lives on hold, you know, just for this inquiry. I don't do much, but just think about it and hope that it'll give me some answers for my missing daughter. 10 years is a long time. Very long time.
It is. What do you think, what answers do you think can come out of this inquiry for you and for some of the other families as well?
Well, they're supposed to make recommendations on what we say, and hopefully they'll believe us. You know, they got to believe us. You know, they can't be just only hearing part of what we got to say and maybe cutting out something they don't like.
What are some of the key messages that you have that you want them to hear?
They got to believe us, because we're not lying about our missing and murdered family members. A lot of us want justice. We want answers. We want closure. And that's just naming a few things of what we want.
Thanks for your time today, Diane.
Okay, you're welcome.
And I really, really love what she said in one article. She said that Danita wasn't just a statistic. She was a human being, a mother, and a daughter. And I think that's very important to remember with these cases, especially if someone is an addict. They are still a human being. They still deserve to be found. But this case leaves us with so many questions. What happened to Danita? Are the police correct in saying that she was last seen downtown? Or is the neighbor correct in saying that she was kidnapped and thrown into a van? Again, she was still so young. She was only 22 years old. She had 2 very young children. Who did something to her and why? Again, did she witness something she wasn't supposed to? Was she involved with certain individuals that had nefarious intentions for her? Or could they have taken her somewhere, and again, could she have OD'd? What I do know is that her children are either adults now or nearing adulthood, and they deserve answers. Her mother deserves answers before she passes as well. Danita is described as an indigenous female standing 5 foot 6 inches tall, around 110 pounds, with straight black hair and brown eyes. She has a tattoo of a happy face and the letter D on the webbing of her left hand. She also has 4.04 inch scars on her forehead, as well as possibly shaved eyebrows. She was last seen wearing a black quilted parka with drawstring waist, a black toque, black t-shirt, blue jeans, and white shoes. Let's take one more good look at Tara, Ashley, and Danita. If you have any information on these 3 missing young women, please say something. These families deserve answers. I'll have the contact information for the authorities of each case down below. But what do you all think about these 3 cases? Do you have information on them that I didn't find? Let's talk about it down below. I'll be in the comment section chatting with you all, as well as are there any other cases that you want me to look into and cover? My heart goes out to these families. I truly hope you all eventually get answers. And as always, I hope you all stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video.